Clean Great Eating, Plant-Based to Feel Great. I'm Tom Bakken, and today we're going to make a miracle nut loaf. And I am the baker in the family, and so I came up with this recipe, and I wanted to make something that was sugar-free, and that was versatile, and had a lot of fiber and all kinds of fun things in it. And one of the reasons it got the title Miracle Nut Loaf is you're going to find out that it's a very versatile dish. But I'll kind of save that to the end because after I make it, you'll see some of the versatility. And this comes from the book Clean Great Eating by Saya and me. And it happens to be on page 363. I have all the ingredients laid out here. Tracy and I did that before we got on here. And it's one of the simplest recipes you'll ever make. Oh, I will say one thing in advance. If you have friends that you need to make something quick for, a treat, or you have guests coming over, or you want to celebrate something with someone, this is a wonderful recipe for that. All right, so I'm going to start with the ingredients here. They're all going to be in the book in terms of the amounts and stuff like that, but I'll mention what they are as I go along. So it's a nut loaf, so it's going to really emphasize nuts. By the way, it's sugar-free, gluten-free. It also happens to be grain-free, and I consider it grain-free because one of the first ingredients I'm going to have here is flax seed. So I count that as a seed. So flax seed, ground flax seed, we're going to put that in. I'm putting all my dry ingredients in first. I have coconut flour. I have almond flour. So now I have those particular dry ingredients. I have some beautiful nuts laid out here. I'll talk about those in just a little bit, but I'm going to finish putting in the rest of my dry ingredients. I have some nutmeg. I have some ginger. So one of the things I like is when you have a little bit of spicing in it, you don't need that sweetness. When you do clean great eating, one of the things you'll find is that over time your palate will change, and that desire for sugar kind of just fades to the background because you'll really look for flavor in other ways. In this case, spicing. So cinnamon's next, and then I have vanilla powder. You can use vanilla liquid if you want. We happen to get vanilla powder. We just like it. It's very versatile, and it can be purchased at Amazon and some stores like Whole Foods and stuff like that. And then we also have salt, just some regular Himalayan pink salt. And what I'm going to do is I have all those dry ingredients in this wonderful bowl. I'm going to mix those up real quick so that they're distributed evenly. I've got that. Wonderful. And that way you're not going to have just a chunk that has too much cinnamon in it, or a chunk that has too much vanilla in it, or too much nutmeg, that type of thing. Now, we have one of the NutriBullet little blenders, but if you have just a traditional blender, this will work for that as well. And what I've done is you're going to find when you go to the Miracle Nut Loaf, every time you make this, you can make it unique. It has so many choices for nuts. Today, I'm using pecans. I'm using macadamia nuts. I'm using hazelnuts, AKA filberts, and I'm using walnuts. I could just as easily use Brazil nuts, peanuts, cashews. I mean, it's endless. You can use pumpkin seeds. You can use sunflower seeds. All it says in the recipe, and this is true, pick 4. Pick 4. And they're all in the equal amount. So like, for example, it's a 1/4 cup of walnuts, 1/4 cup of hazelnuts. You pick any 4 of nuts, of this nut seed combination that you want, and you make it. So think of all the permutations of that. And each time you make this, it can be a unique flavor based upon what nuts/seeds you use. There is one caveat, or one little thing I want to mention, and that is in the recipe that I found, the general recipe, it did say don't blend peanuts with walnuts. I don't know why they said that, but use either peanuts or walnuts in your mixture of 4. That's the only thing I found along the way. I don't know the science behind that. That's just what they said. One other thing about that too is that I don't know. It's just so fun that you can change it all the time. I just think that part's so cool. So I'm just going to put all these nuts that I have into a little blender, and like I say, if you just have a regular home blender, that's okay. You don't need anything fancy. I've got it in this little container of the NutriBullet. There's going to be a little bit of noise here. We're going to grind this into a flour immediately. So here we go. I really grind it up because I don't want to be surprised by a big chunk of nuts and stuff like that. You may not bother you, but if you give this loaf to somebody and then they crack a tooth because there's a nut in there, that might be an issue. So here we go. I'm going to put this in because I'm going to count this as a dry ingredient. So here now I have a beautiful nut flour, and again, like I said, it could be sunflower seeds, it could be pumpkin seeds, it could be Brazil nuts, all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna just put that right in there, and I get every drop. I miss nothing here. I want it all in there. And then again, because it's a dry ingredient, I want to mix that in with my other dry ingredients and really get that incorporated nicely. Isn't that fun? And boy, one of the things that comes out right away is, you know, we're so used to when we bake, especially a dessert, that it has to be so sweet. And what I love about this nut loaf is when I smell it, what comes through is the nutmeg, the ginger, the cinnamon. And I think one of the things you're going to find is as you do clean green eating, and you get to experiment with this yourself. If you need a little bit of sweet, remember there are some options in the book to be able to do some sweeteners. But I think you're going to find that with spicing and flavoring and things like that, you can make this wonderful without any kind of extra sweetener. So sugar-free. By the way, I want to go over a couple things. A lot of the things that we talk about, the flaxseed, the almond flour. In this case here, we've got coconut flour. We've got, I had to take out the Brazil nuts. Most of these came from Costco. This could be called the Costco miracle nut loaf as well. But we just love things that are organic if we can get them. Don't worry if you can't. Try to get that if you can. But these things are all available. The stores, these kind of things are much more available than they used to be. And because I love baking, I'm so used to just regular flour and stuff like that. But now almond flour is a staple of mine. You know, flaxseed is so cool. So there you go. All right, I've mixed all my dry ingredients. They're all together. Now I just need my liquid ingredients, and these are simple. In this case, it's going to be some almond oil. Oh, just wonderful. And this again, Costco. I'm going to put my almond oil in. Really get that. I want to get every drop of this. I'm not wasting any of that. Put that in there. And then the other thing I'm going to put in, and I'll just I'll pour it over here. It's 1 cup in this case. I'll say the measurement this time. It's 1 cup of really warm water. It was brought to a boil a little while ago while you were talking with Tracy, and it is now cooled down a little bit, but still pretty hot. Now, the reason I'm going to give you the science behind this, the reason it's warm water rather than just regular water is through experimentation with flaxseed, I find that warm water activates it. And what you want it to do is you want that flaxseed to act like an egg. So we didn't go through the effort in advance of making a flaxseed egg, but in essence, by adding this hot water, we have a flaxseed egg in the making in the bowl. Because remember, a majority of the dry ingredients here, the largest dry ingredient in this particular recipe is ground flaxseed. So I've mixed it with a fork. Now I'm going to stir it with a spatula. These silicone spatulas are so cool. It's kind of more like a spoonula because it's going to allow me to really mix it. I'm going to show you the consistency of this. This is going to make a it's a ball of dough, and it really sticks together nicely. It's warm. The bowl is nice and warm right now. Smells great. The spices make this just feel so warm. Now, I am a big fan of silicone baking gadgets. I don't mind using metal. That's fine too. But I bought a loaf pan off of Amazon. And then I bought these pans. They're about 2 inches high, and they're more like a pie thing. And if you look at the recipe on page 363 of the book, you'll see that you can make it into a round pie-shaped dish. So this is more like a coffee cake. What did you say there? A cake. Yeah, like a cake. That's right. It's a cake pan. Thank you. But it's got these cool ridges in it and stuff like that. So it's really neat. So you can put it in there if you want to. Or you can put it in a loaf pan. I'm going to put it in a loaf pan just because it's kind of fun. I'm calling it a miracle nut loaf. So I'll put it in there for now. And you'll notice it came out in one chunk. It's still, I'm going to talk and work at the same time here. You want to get it while it's still warm because you want to keep just pressing it down into the pan. You're going to get it to be about 1.5 to, about 1.5 inches thick in the pan. And it's not runny. It is, it sticks together nicely, but it's not runny. It's a good and firm. And by the way, there's no egg in here, and you can literally eat the stuff just like it is right now. There's nothing in here that's going to hurt you. So cooking it is just to get it to the consistency of a nice loaf. But I've just put it all in the pan. I could just as easily take the same thing and put it in here, and then I make a cake. And if I do that, I can make it into nice little pie pieces. And then you can decorate that. There's a beautiful picture that Tracy took where we put like a fruit compote over it. And then she makes a beautiful coconut whipped cream, put that over top, and then we threw some raspberries and some blueberries. Or you're going to find out that we can also cut it into some bars. That's what I like about using this particular pan, just a bread pan, a little more decorative than a bread pan, I guess. And then you're just going to put that on a metal sheet, throw it in the oven at 350, and voila, pop it in. Set a timer for 35 minutes, which I'm going to do right now because otherwise I'll forget. And then let it go. But now we're on television, or we're on video, and so we should have the miracle of television, shouldn't we? So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to pretend I've opened up the oven one more time, and voila, we have the cooked miracle nut loaf. How could that even happen? But it did. And here I have the pan. Again, I have two of these. They came in a pair, actually. This was actually cooked in advance. I'll admit that. And we let it cool. That's going to be the hardest thing of making this, actually. The hardest thing of this whole recipe is you bake it, that smell gets in your house, and then all of a sudden you open up the oven, you take it out, and you look at it, and you say to yourself, well, look, it's cooked, and I want to eat it immediately. I want to just take it out of the pan, I want to eat it. I've done it. But you need it to cool because it will come out of the pan a little easier, just like that. And I want you to see the texture here. The cool thing about this particular silicone pan is it makes these little ridges. So again, it's kind of decorative. The same thing happens with the pie plate. And it's not necessary, but when you give this, if you give this away to someone, what a great thing to have those ridges in there. Now it's cooled. This, again, Miracle Nut Loaf, it can be used as a protein bar, because think about what's in this. If you use seeds, protein. If you use nuts, protein. People always ask us, how do you get your protein? You're not eating meat. We get our protein through nuts, seeds. There's lots of protein in the flours and other things that we eat. So this is a protein, a dish that's bursting with protein. I'm going to slice this down, and I'm going to put it on a plate. I wish the only drawback to Zoom is I cannot actually serve this to you. Now, we do have people that live in our area that have come to the house to get it. And I do think that's wonderful. So I'm gonna put about 3 slices out here on a plate.
Nancy gets around.
And if you just look at this, this really is cool. It's like a cake, but it's a little more dense than that. I have a recipe also in book we do. It's a protein bar, so it's different than this one, but this one is so fun to give to people. It's like it is like having a coffee cake, only denser. You can put, oh, by the way, speaking of that, what Tracy said, there's a whisper from the side. I'm not hearing voices in my head. Let's say I use this cake pan. So I put down the dough in there, and it's still nice and moist. And I made it to the consistency again of about a little over 1.5 inches high, and I patted it down with my spoonula. And all of a sudden now I want to add fruit to it. I have mixed the fruit in with the dough, and you can do that. That works just fine. Or you can take raspberries or blueberries or sliced strawberries and just press them into the dough while it's soft, and then go ahead and bake it with those in. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Now you've just added blueberries. Again, you made it more versatile, more colorful, a little bit of sweet. That's what I love, when you just have the sweet of a blueberry or the sweet of a raspberry or the sweet of a strawberry, and you just have that either mixed into the mix, or if you really want people to see it, put it on the top, push it in, go ahead and bake it. It works wonderful. And then again, you could also add that at the end. You just add the beautiful fruit on top with the whipped cream or just plain, and it's wonderful. Another thing too, we love fruit compote. You take blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, throw them in like traditional blender or a NutriBullet, and they can be frozen from the freezer, doesn't matter. Put it in there, spin it, and you have what looks like a nice thick, kind of like a jelly. There's no added sugar to it. You just spread that over top of this. Now you've got a natural, gluten-free, sugar-free, grain-free product that is loaded with protein, loaded with flavor because of the nutmeg, the ginger, the cinnamon, the vanilla. And you put a little bit of sweet over top that's natural. It's blueberries, it's strawberries, or it's raspberries, and it is delicious. It's just wonderful. I wish I could give you each a piece. We should have you all sitting around the counter here on little stools, and I could just hand it out and then you could eat it, because otherwise it's just me that as soon as the camera goes off, I will devour these. And they will taste wonderful. So that's the part I feel a little bit guilty about. Hardest part of the whole thing of making it is letting it cool after it comes out of the oven. Because right now, this one's just gone in, the one that I just made this morning, and at about the 10-minute mark of the 35 minutes, these wonderful smells will start wafting in your house. And again, it's such a versatile recipe. It is truly a great example of what we do in Clean Green Eating, which is we create a template for you. And from that template, you individualize it. You make it into what you want it to be. You choose the nuts. Choose the 4 nuts or seeds that you put in. You choose whether to put some sweet in it or not. Put blueberries in. Don't put blueberries in. Put raspberries or strawberries. Leave it plain. Make a whipped cream afterwards. Put it in a nut loaf. Put it in a cake pan, and have little like pie slices, if you will, then for it. You can do anything you want with it. It's such a beautiful template. And it is a great thing to make quickly for, let's say you have, there's just something that you find out about your neighbor's birthday has come up and you forgot it. And you think, well, I'd like to bring something to my neighbor. And so you quickly put this together and you can give them slices of it. You know, that's another thing too. Probably the second hardest thing about it is, how much do I give my neighbor? Do I give them the whole loaf? Or I just cut off a few slices? You decide on that one. And then just bring it over. Or if you have guests come over, you can have this ready in 35 minutes. 40 minutes, I think, when you do the prep stuff for it. But like I said, there's not a lot of prep. And there's no eggs, there's nothing in here that is complicated. It's very, very simple. I want to thank you for joining us here at Clean Green Eating, Plant-Based to Feel Great. It has been my pleasure to introduce you to the Miracle Nut Loaf. And I think you will enjoy this recipe because you can make this so many different ways. It's a unique dessert every time you make it. Just one shift of one ingredient and you've changed it for you. So thank you for joining us. I'm Tom Bakken for Tracy Spring. Thank you for joining us here at Clean Green Eating, Plant-Based to Feel Great.